So is your gun not shooting anymore and you don't know what it is? You think it might be the barrel? Well, today we're gonna go through a process of elimination and decide what it actually is and if it is your barrel.
We are MDT. We design, test, and create precision rifle chassis and accessories to help you shoot better.
So you're gonna see a lot of competitive shooters treat barrels like the tires on their car. Once they get to a certain amount of miles, they just change the tires off because they wanna make sure they're not gonna get stuck on the side of the road. Same thing happens with your barrel. So keeping track of that barrel life with how many rounds are down it really allows you to make that decision quickly and easily. This also allows you to really schedule in when you're gonna need barrels done to make sure you don't have delays in your season. Now, let's say you went and you bought a gun, you don't know how many rounds are on that barrel, or maybe you lost track of how many rounds are on your current barrel. So we're gonna go through the process that I do to make sure that my barrel actually is good or is bad and make a decision from there. So probably one of the biggest giveaways for if your barrel is gonna be dying soon or is dead is gonna be your speed. You're likely gonna see a speed drop off, possibly a speed up, but likely a speed drop off. My understanding what's happening is your pressures are dropping because, well, you have less barrel to hold that pressure because you've eroded it to a point where it just doesn't want to work anymore. Is there something loose on my gun? We just did a video about this showing how much of an impact this can have on your group and shifting. I would go through the gun front to back, make sure the muzzle brake's tight, the scope base is tight, the scope is tight, everything is tight. Making sure it's solid, making sure everything's torqued properly, and then go and shoot again and see if that fixed it. One thing that some people do overlook is actually making sure your barrel's even tight. This is something that can back off over time. Usually doesn't happen if it's torqued properly, but sometimes it does. If it's still not shooting well, I'm gonna go and do a really deep clean on my rifle, stripping as much copper and carbon out of that thing as I can. Really focusing on that throat area, making sure there's no carbon ring in there because that likely could be an issue for you if you're having sporadic shots, higher pressures in certain rounds. So another problem some people overlook when they are running into accuracy issues is just having this gunk can jam up in your firing pin assembly. Any kind of drag you have in your firing pin assembly is going to cause inconsistent ignition with your primers. Your primer wants to be hit consistently every single time to ignite consistently every single time. So making sure that you have no issues in here will definitely help you identify if it's a barrel issue. One thing you need to remember when you do this though, is your barrel will need to break back in a little bit. So make sure you go and shoot at least 10 rounds, possibly up to 25, depending on how old your barrel is. Generally, the more rounds you have on your barrel, the longer the fouling in is gonna take. One of the other things you really wanna consider when you're doing this, is it actually you, the shooter? The monkey behind the trigger tends to be the issue sometimes. So try and get out somebody that you know that knows how to shoot well, that you respect, and that can come out and give your hand and shoot your gun and make sure it's not you. The next thing I'm gonna go look at is switching out my scope. Scopes are a fairly sensitive piece of equipment. There's a lot of glass, a lot of glue, a lot of things in there that could go wrong. And all manufacturers have issues eventually with a scope. It's usually a very low percentage, but definitely could be an issue. Now, if you don't have another scope, likely one of your friends at the gun range or you shoot with does, see if you can borrow it for a couple days to really see if that's what the issue is. That ammo could be the problem. So you've got this load that works really great in your gun, or you've got a good lot of ammo that's been working really well, and all of a sudden it opens up. What's gonna happen is you have your throat of the barrel that it then leads into your lands and grooves of the actual barrel. This throat area tends to burn away as you shoot, or throat erosion is what we like to call it. This lands area here is what burns away when you have that heat from the explosion of the round going off, and so that's what really grows, is this lands area. So that's why you need to push out your bullet sometimes, just to regain that accuracy you did have. Now, with factory ammo, that's a lot harder to do, so you might need to go and try some different lots of ammo, maybe different brands, and that might help you out. So if you have gone through this process and everything else is perfect, it is maybe time to go get a new barrel and get one on order.